You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?"
Well, if a doctor smokes a cigarette, maybe I should too. Wow, doctors smoke cigarettes. We were all told that back in the day, weren't we? We've been told a lot of things that just turned out to be totally bogus and harmful and wrong over the years, right? Over the centuries, over the eons, it's just, we learn better. Ultimately, the Earth, if you said it was round for a long time, you were in trouble, right? That Earth is flat. Christopher Columbus, you're crazy if you take those boats. You're going to fall off the edge of the Earth. And, oh, by the way, the Earth is the center of the universe. Everything revolves around our planet. That's something else. I think Galileo or Copernicus, one of those guys, they wanted to burn him at the stake for publishing a paper that said that was wrong. And what else? What other myths have we been told? Joe Biden is a totally normal and competent person. Anybody who questions his cognitive ability is engaged in a deep fake, cheap fake, conservative media conspiracy theory. Joe Biden is absolutely fine every step of the way.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
I have seen the president effectively guide the members of the department, of his cabinet and his military through.
But you won't say you've ever seen any impairment on his part?
The president has no impairment.
I say his age is an asset.
Aha! He's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience.
We all know better, right? Even the Democrats, finally, it's finally okay to say it. It's authorized. They have permission to say the truth. Took them a long, long time, but they got the permission, and it's just, it's interesting, isn't it? Now, something else that I hear that might just be blown wide open, that the election of 2020, right, was the best election ever. I think it's okay to have concerns about the fairness of that election. You got to be really careful, though, really careful. Officially, this is the best election ever. The one where we were voting in all kinds of new different ways, mass. You didn't have a ballot. Here's a ballot. Doesn't matter. No excuse. Absentee voting. Just do it. By definition, it was a weird election. But no, officially, it was a perfect election.
This was the most secure election in American history.
We know from the intelligence communities that this has been the safest, most secure election we have ever had.
This is the most secure election in our history.
So just like cigarettes are good for us, the earth is flat, Joe Biden is perfectly capable mentally, the election was completely fine and the most secure ever. I don't think that's the case. Now, President Trump on these two big issues has been vocally skeptical about both, right? Turned out he was totally right about Joe Biden. You can't dispute that now. The election, don't you think maybe when evidence comes out of something possibly being a little bit off, it deserves a bit of scrutiny? This week, a wallop in the fake news's face, but they ducked. Take a look from the FBI, declassified by Kash Patel. Oh, first, let's go through this tweet. President Trump has had his doubts about this election. He reiterated them on Truth Social. Sleepy, crooked Joe Biden, a man who lost the 2020 presidential election by a landslide. What else did President Trump say, please? The 2020 election was a total fraud. The evidence is massive and overwhelming. What else? A special prosecutor must be appointed. This cannot be allowed to happen again in the United States of America. Let the work begin. Oh, well, that's just crazy. I don't think it's that crazy, and I think it deserves some inspection, some investigation, and I think he's going to get it because he's the man who can make it happen now. He can make this happen, and I think the DOJ is going to respond. And something he's hot on the trail about, take a look. The FBI put out some fascinating information this week. It was declassified by Kash Patel, and it goes like this. China was possibly trying to throw this election to Joe Biden. In late August 2020, the Chinese government had produced a large amount of fraudulent United States driver's licenses that were secretly exported to the United States. Okay, that's a biggie. Next, please. The fraudulent driver's licenses would allow tens of thousands of Chinese students and immigrants sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party to vote for U.S. presidential candidate Joe Biden, despite not being eligible to vote in the United States. Wow. That's pretty critical information. I think it deserves investigation, at least some attention. What would this look like? Take this individual, right? Fine Chinese driver. Well, that license becomes Wisconsin, a swing state. There are 10,000 of these things floating around. The FBI has them. This could actually swing an election. That's what could happen. But you can't say that for some reason. Why not? What kind of weird system? It's like the Soviet Union. You had to figure out what you could say and what you can't say. This has been totally ignored. It's a big piece of information. Just like when Joe Biden was losing his mind. But if you said it out loud, you earn the scorn and the brushing off the TV set by the dominant media.
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you are
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
It's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive.
See how the fake news freaks out? How they try to stifle the truth or even questioning their preferred narrative. It's kind of fascinating. The truth is all around us, and I don't know why anybody is afraid to say it out loud. I felt no pushback. I felt no compunction. I saw something. I said it. What's the problem? All the way back to 2020. Yeah, he's got issues. What's the big deal? Apparently, I don't know. But one more victory lap, if you don't mind. This is having an accumulative effect, okay? We have all been watching this, and anybody could see that Joe's in decline. There's no denying that Joe has serious, serious issues. It's all right there. And not only his cognitive situation, but issues about his integrity. Well, how does the media put it? What do they really say when hard questions are posed about Joe Biden?
Please disperse. Nothing to see here. Please disperse.
So I've got hours of this stuff showing here on Newsmax. We were not afraid to raise, the basic, obvious questions that were staring us in the face. I'm not saying I'm any kind of genius. I'm just anybody in the country saw it, but you couldn't say it out loud for whatever reason if you worked anywhere else. Now, they're having this revelation now. The Jake Tapper thing you heard about, his dopey book. The idea that he can say this in public and the pseudo-intellectual justification for protecting Democrats is something else. Take a look.
George Orwell once wrote that, quote, "We are all capable of believing things which we know to be untrue. And then when we are finally proved wrong, impudently twisting the facts so as to show that we were right. Intellectually, it is possible to carry on this process for an indefinite time. The only check on it is that sooner or later, a false belief bumps up against a solid reality, usually on a battlefield. Now, when George Orwell wrote that, he was talking about World War II. He wrote, quote, "The Germans and the Japanese lost the war quite largely because their rulers were unable to see facts which were plain to any dispassionate eye." And then he said, and this is one of my favorite quotes ever, "To see what is in front of one's nose needs a constant struggle." And that's the lesson for me. We all saw it happening, and we all refused to see it.
All right, speak for yourself there, pal. We all refuse to see it. A constant struggle. That's quite a weird thing to say, isn't it? It's strange that he is still kind of they still have this club going, and they ignored that truth, and they're still ignoring the truth, right? I mean, it's shocking. It's just weird, and I think they've canceled themselves. But they're still getting the accolades. They're still like in the system. They love the system, don't they?
I want to thank Jake and Alex not only for being here tonight to talk about their book, but for what they do to strengthen our democracy by doing what they do. So, Alex, Jake, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
It's a great conversation. Thank you, Alex. Great job.
What they did to protect democracy and all the fanfare and the special and the best-selling book. Are you crazy or what? What a warped, weird place. So the thing that they probably can't see and they refuse to see, but maybe pretty soon something will happen and they will not be able to refuse to see it, the election of 2020 and the Chinese driver's licenses, right? That election was weird, and it deserves a special counsel, and I think it's going to get one on Monday morning. Can we wrap up that TV commercial about cigarettes and doctors and their preference for cigarettes? We lived in a country where they were said doctors smoked cigarettes.
Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Kind of makes me want a cigarette. Glad these commercials are not on TV anymore. She's beautiful.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.